I want you to just picture a business pitch for a moment. You walk into a boardroom, it's full of these really risk-averse bankers in London or New York,
Okay.
and you tell them you want to start a lending company. But here's the catch. Your customers, they have no bank accounts, zero credit history, and no steady paycheck.
Right. They're in the informal economy.
Exactly. And to top it all off, they have absolutely no collateral, nothing to offer if they default.
If you pitched that on Wall Street, you wouldn't just be laughed out of the room. I mean, security would probably escort you out.
Right. It sounds like a charity, not a business.
Or just frankly, a very efficient way to burn through capital.
It is a lender's nightmare. And yet this is the exact paradox we are unpacking today. We're looking at M-KOPA. Now, if you've been following the African tech scene, you might be thinking, okay, the solar power guys, I know this story.
And to be fair, for a long time, that was the story. But looking through these sources, the financials, the case studies, it's so clear that calling M-KOPA just a solar company today is a massive mistake.
It's like calling Amazon that website that sells books.
Exactly. It just misses the entire picture. They've become this digital financing powerhouse.
By proving that the unbanked, the people the entire system just ignores, are actually creditworthy. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how. How did they go from light bulbs to smartphones to electric motorcycles and actually make a profit?
It is a masterclass in using tech to solve a trust problem. But to really get it, we have to start at the beginning. We have to go back to the kerosene killer phase.
I love that term from the articles, the kerosene killer. Sounds like an action movie.
It's vivid, isn't it? But it reflects a really harsh reality. Back around 2010, you had millions of families in East Africa who were off-grid.
So for light, they were burning kerosene.
About $10 a month worth of it. And it's just a terrible product. It's dangerous. The fumes are toxic.
And the light is awful. Solar was obviously better, but it had that classic economic trap.
The poverty penalty.
The poverty penalty. It's expensive to be poor.
Precisely. A solar system might cost, say, $200 up front. If you live on a few dollars a day, you just can't save that kind of lump sum. You're stuck.
So the barrier wasn't desire, it was capital. And this is where the founders come in. Jesse Moore, Chad Larson, and especially Nick Hughes.
Yes, Hughes is really the key to the whole puzzle. He was a co-founder of M-PESA at Vodafone.
For anyone who doesn't know, M-PESA is the mobile money system that completely revolutionized Kenya, sending money by text message.
Right, so Hughes already knew that people had phones and could move money digitally. He just needed to connect that to a physical asset.
And that's where the pay-as-you-go model, or PAYG, was born. And it's so simple when you look at it.
Deceptively simple. You pay a small deposit, maybe $35, for the solar kit.
And then about 50 cents a day.
Which, and this is critical, matches the customer's cash flow. It's roughly what they were already spending on kerosene.
So you're swapping a sunk cost for an actual investment. But the real genius wasn't the price. It was the enforcement.
This is the aha moment. They put a SIM card, basically, inside the solar battery.
GSM technology.
Correct, which connected the device to the payment system. So if you pay your 50 cents via M-PESA, the lights stay on if you miss a payment.
Click. Lights go out? Remotely?
That remote off switch is what we call digital collateral. A bank needs your house, your car, something they can take. M-KOPA realized the asset itself could be the collateral.
You don't need a repo, man. The device enforces the contract.
And those early pilots back in 2011, they proved it worked. People didn't just pay, they paid ahead of schedule.
Really? Why?
To own it, to unlock the device permanently. It proved that low-income customers aren't bad borrowers. They just need payment terms that fit their life.
And by 2015, they had, what, 150,000 households?
And $40 million in revenue. They had cracked the code for energy.
So they become the solar guys. But then around 2019, something big shifts. The sources call it the pivot to the digital gateway. This feels like when the company really grew up.
This is where the story gets fascinating. They realized solar's a utility. Once you have light, you're good. But what people were desperate for was connection.
The internet. A smartphone.
Exactly. So in 2019, M-KOPA starts applying that same financing model to smartphones. And the growth charts they go vertical.
The numbers are absolutely wild. It took them 8 years to reach their first 1 million customers.
A long, hard grind.
But once they launched phones?
They doubled to 2 million customers in less than 2 years.
And the stat that blew my mind, between 2020 and 2021, they sold 500,000 smartphones.
Which is the equivalent of 10 years of solar sales, done in about 18 months. It just shows you the sheer scale of the demand.
And it solved a geography problem too, right?
It did. Solar is for off-grid communities, but
Mm-hmm.
if you go to Nigeria, the grid is, well, it's not great, but it exists. But the demand for a 4G smartphone,
That's everywhere. Everyone wants to be online.
it's universal. So they entered West Africa purely on phones. And that shift is crucial because a smartphone isn't just a product, it's a data mine.
Okay, so let's get under the hood. The digital collateral for a solar panel on a roof makes sense. But how do you secure a smartphone that someone can just put in their pocket and walk away with?
Essentially, they brick it. They install proprietary software deep in the phone's operating system.
So if that daily payment doesn't arrive, the phone just locks.
It becomes a very expensive paperweight. You can still call emergency numbers, but no WhatsApp, no social media, no business. And for so many of their customers, that phone is their business.
The incentive to pay is huge. But it's not just about the stick, right? The sources mention something called M-KOPA IQ.
That's the real magic.
Yeah.
Every single time a customer makes a payment, they generate a data point.
So they're building a profile.
They're using machine learning to look at your behavior, not your salary, not your assets, because you don't have paper records of those, but your consistency.
It's behavioral credit scoring.
Exactly. If you pay consistently, you create a credit history from scratch. And then M-KOPA can say, okay, we trust you. You've paid off the phone. Do you want a cash loan now?
It's like a ladder into the formal financial system. But I have to ask the hard question. Is this actually a sustainable business? Or is it just venture capital subsidizing phones?
That was the big question for years. But the 2024 financials were a major milestone. They swung from a KSH 3.2 billion loss in 2023
Pre profit.
to a KSH 1.2 billion profit in 2024.
That is a massive turnaround.
They did it. And here's the metric that should make those bankers listen. Their default rates are stable at around 10%.
10%. Which, for unsecured lending to the informal sector, that's remarkably low.
It proves the model works. The data predicts risk better than a bank manager ever could. It turns out people with little money are actually very disciplined with their cash flow.
So they're profitable, they have the data, and now they're building the ecosystem. It's more than a phone. What does that mean?
It means once you trust the customer, you can cross-sell. They've disbursed over $1.5 billion in credit now.
Cash loans for things like school fees or business inventory.
Right. But the most interesting addition, I think, is insurance.
I saw that, the partnership with Turaco. Why insurance? It seems like an odd fit.
It's not odd at all. It's defensive. They look at their data and saw the number one reason people default is a health emergency. You get sick, you can't work, you can't pay.
Ah, so they bundle hospitalization insurance into the payment plan.
Exactly. It protects the customer, but it also protects M-KOPA's loan book. Over 1 million people insured.
That's brilliant. And then there's the move into electric motorcycles, the e-mobility push.
This is the same logic as the solar panels. The Boda, the motorcycle taxi, is the lifeblood of transport in so many cities.
But fuel is a killer expense.
A driver can spend $5, maybe $6 a day on gas. It eats up all their profit.
So M-KOPA finances an electric bike. The driver saves that $5 a day on fuel and uses it to pay for the bike.
The asset pays for itself through savings. They're giving people a business tool that immediately increases their take-home pay.
And there's an interesting gender dynamic in all this, too.
Huge. 40% of their customers are women. Traditional banks often exclude women because they don't hold land titles, which is the usual collateral. M-KOPA's model just bypasses that completely.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly positive, but you can't lend billions to financially vulnerable people without facing some serious risks. Let's do the reality check.
The biggest systemic risk is something called debt stacking.
Explain that.
A customer has their M-KOPA phone loan, but then they also take a loan from another digital lending app for food, and maybe they owe money to the local shopkeeper. They're juggling multiple payments.
In economies that are already fragile.
Exactly. With high inflation, the cost of living spikes. Suddenly that 50 cents a day isn't so easy to find. And M-KOPA itself faces massive currency risk.
Right. They're earning in shillings and naira, but raising capital in dollars.
It's a CFO's nightmare. If the local currency devalues, your revenue just gets crushed in real terms.
And what about the lock itself? We're calling it a feature, but it must be a headache. People must try to hack the phones.
It's a constant arms race. And if someone truly defaults, finding them in an informal settlement with no street address is incredibly expensive.
I saw a figure. They spent KSH 5.2 billion on impairment charges. That's a lot.
It is. Chasing defaulters is costly, which is why M-KOPA argues the lock is the only thing keeping the financing affordable. Without it, The interest rates would have to be predatory to cover the risk.
So looking forward, what's the vision for 2030?
The stated goal is 10 million customers. But the strategy is clearly shifting. They entered South Africa recently.
A middle income country, so they're moving up market.
Exactly. They're targeting the urban mass market now.
Yeah.
The end game seems to be becoming a super app, embedded finance.
Where the phone becomes the hub for everything.
Yes. M-KOPA knows your payment history, so they become the underwriter for your entire economic life. They want to be the operating system for the informal economy.
And they're leaning hard into that climate fintech angle.
It's smart positioning. Solar and e-bikes lets them tap into global climate funding. It separates them from the pack.
So to wrap this all up, we started with a paradox. How do you bank the unbanked?
And the answer seems to be, you stop thinking like a bank. Banks look backward at your history. M-KOPA looks at your present, your real-time behavior.
They proved the barrier wasn't a lack of money from the poor.
No, the barrier was a lack of data and a mechanism for trust. And KOPA built the lock to create the trust, and then they harvested the data to build a financial future.
It's a powerful lesson. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. M-KOPA is profitable, banking millions of people that the traditional system just wrote off.
It really makes you wonder, if a tech company can profitably lend to someone with no credit history in a rural village, what does that say about the inefficiency of the giant traditional banks we all use?
Is this model the future of credit for everyone, or just a unique solution for emerging markets? Something to chew on. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Mission Possible, innovating for the world's most marginalized. This podcast is built on the outstanding work of our students, whose curiosity and commitment drive much of the research and storytelling you hear. Each episode is grounded in academic research and shaped through close collaboration with our partners. To learn more about the research and partnerships behind this podcast, feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining.